church is often seen as a place where you come when you get cleaned up. So the church has a little bit of an image problem. Because the church is seen as a place for churched people. For us, those that already know Christ. That was not the church that Jesus was talking about, though. Jesus says, bring to me anybody that is on the outside. Who did Jesus spend most of his time with? Prostitutes, tax collectors, lepers. Anybody, basically, that the general populace did not want to have anything to do with. He said, those are the people I want to spend time with. So the church has a little bit of an image problem when it comes to this idea that the church, what we do on Sunday mornings, is for churched people. The only way that an image problem like that is changed is by us either changing entirely or morphing a little bit of how we live our lives on a daily basis. How do you interact with people that don't know God at all? How do you interact with those who are outside of the church? A couple of stories that maybe can relate this a little bit closer to home. One of the stories that came out of one of the students at IYC. This student has realized that some of the friends that they hang out with really they're not making very good decisions. They are not living the kind of lives that reflect God. And this student is really struggling with the relationship that they should maintain with those friends. Because the student recognizes, if I hang around with this group, if I fly with turkeys, I'm going to become a turkey. If I run with those kind of people, that's the kind of person I'm going to become. So this person is struggling with, how much time do I spend with those that need God? And I look at that group, and none of them know God at all. I'm the only one who has a relationship with Jesus Christ in this group. How much time do they give? And how much time do I give to those that do know God? Those that are trying, those that are on the journey with me? How much time do I spend with this group of people that know God and want to run after God? And the temptation that this student has had would be to, I can't do anything with these people anymore because they are dragging me down. I am not living up to what God is asking me to do. But over the course of our trip to San Antonio, this student realized these people need God. And I'm not going to go to their parties. And I'm not going to hang out in those kind of situations that are not good for me. But I'm going to continue to eat lunch with them. I'm going to go to movies with them. And I'm going to show unconditional acceptance, not of their behavior, but of them as people that God has created. That is a huge revelation. Because I think when I was a student in this church and in a church in Indiana, the temptation that I had was to completely extract myself from that group of people. To not have anything to do with them. And to only hang out with my church friends. They were the only ones who got my time. And I look back on that and I think, what a mistake and what a lost opportunity. The thing that Kelly talked about. What a lost opportunity with those that didn't know Christ at all. I think there has to be a way that we engage those that don't know Christ in a way that shows unconditional love. One of the things that continued to come up as we talked about faith, hope, and love, and the reflection of Christ in our lives, is that God is continually calling us and challenging us to go to the hard places. The places where our friends who are walking away from God. The places where we are getting phone calls or unsolicited conversations from people that don't know God at all, and their lives are a wreck, and for some reason they continue to come to us. Those are the hard places. Because the temptation coming off of an experience like International Youth Convention is to say, that mountaintop experience was tremendous and I never want to leave the mountaintop. Because the worship was amazing. The speakers were unbelievably challenging. I felt closer to God in Texas than I had ever felt before. And if you've ever been to an experience like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Problem is this. People do not live on the mountain. People live in the valley. In fact, Psalm 23 talks about that. It says, "Lo, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I will not fear because you are with me, God." People live in the valley. And you and I are called, when we come off of mountaintop experiences, maybe Sunday morning is a mountaintop experience where it just hits you just right and you have energy to run through the rest of the week. Things like International Youth Convention are mountaintop experiences for me. I know it's geared towards students, but I come away refreshed and empowered. And the temptation is to stay on the mountaintop and want that experience to carry me through. And when we hold on to the mountaintop, and as we slowly slide back down into the valley, what we end up doing is standing, looking back up at the mountaintop, when all around us are people who have lived in the valley, and the valley is the only thing that they have ever known. God calls us to go back to the valley. That's why he says, I am with you, my rod and my staff. They comfort you. They protect you. We're supposed to live in the valley. We're supposed to have those experiences that make our minds just expand and completely change the way we relate to God. But we cannot live on the mountaintop. It can't just stay here. We have to have a desire, a willingness to plow forward and say, you know what, because of what I learned on the mountaintop, because of how God spoke to me, I am going to start living a little bit differently. Because it's so tempting to come back from a mountaintop experience and say, well, my whole life has got to be changed upside down. And a couple months pass, if it lasts that long. I mean, well, this is frustrating. Nothing is working. I feel like I did before I went away. God is not asking you to dump everything at once. He is saying to you, there are little pieces of your life that could be more closely attached to me. Are you willing to do those things? Because when we start to change one thing, he says, okay, now that you did that, good job. You and I are closer. There's something over here. And when that's done, there's something here. God is inviting us into a place where our lives have impact with those around us. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 12 says this. Even